I'm Mónica García, President of the LAUSD Board of Education, and welcome to Families Matter. Joining me today are my co-host, Board Member Nuri Martinez, and Senior Deputy Superintendent Michelle King. Our goal is to provide information so families can help their children graduate and stay safe in school. Today's topic focuses on the important role mothers play in helping their children succeed in school. Joining us shortly will be my own mom, Guillermina Corrales Garcia, and KMEX news anchor, Gabriela Tessier. But first, a chance for us to talk about the latest regarding the LAUSD and families. This week, we made a big step forward on our A through G movement, Ms. Martinez.
Yes,
Tell us about this.
The board approved our A through G resolution to implement an instructional plan to implement A through G. I think it's been a long 7 years, and this district and the children that it serves, we need to ensure that every child has access to the right classes, but also we need to ensure, most importantly, that our children are proficient in math and English when they graduate from high school.
That's right, and you had teachers and students.
I had the fabulous group of principals from Chavez Learning Academies in San Fernando, and I had the students who are taking the A through G classes and the principals that are leading the way in the Northeast Valley. So I was very grateful that they came to the board meeting, and they're doing it the right way.
That's excellent. And Michelle King, you are our top mom at the school district. And so how do you see, what do you hear from parents around the A through G movement?
I hear that parents are excited about the A through G movement because they too want their children to have access to a college preparatory education. And they're excited that we as a district are finally doing something about it. In particular, we're going to put supports around our students so that we can ensure that they are able to be successful. So the buzz among parents and among administrators and teachers is very positive, and they're excited to roll up their sleeves and get to work.
And we're starting earlier. We want to start as early as 4th grade. So when children are ready to go to middle school, they're talking with their parents and their peers about A through G, so that a 9th grader going into high school is not all of a sudden you're an 11th grader and you knew or you didn't know that you needed to take the right math class or that extra language class. And so we want to make sure that our kids in elementary school are insured and are having a conversation about the A through G courses, and families understand what that means.
And we can ensure that our goal of 100% graduation for all of our students is actually realized, and that our students and families can see that we are actually building in the ability for all of our students to achieve that, and then have options when they leave high school to pursue the workforce or to pursue a 4-year university or private college. So we're very excited about this.
Yes, and today we're talking about the role moms have in education. And Michelle, I want you to tell us a little bit about, you're an LAUSD grad, you have the #2 post at the 2nd largest school district in the country, and you're a mom, and you have daughters that you've shepherded through the system. What can you share with moms?
Gosh, it's great to be a mom. I have 3 beautiful daughters, and all 3 did graduate from LA Unified, where they were very well prepared. They had amazing teachers. When I was a student in LA Unified, went to all LAUSD schools, I had incredible teachers. And what I can say to moms, it's important for us to communicate with our kids and let them know how important and valuable a good education is. And when I asked my daughters last night, I said, what made a difference to you? For me, what did I do that really stuck with you? And they said, Mom, we knew you cared. We saw you live it, we saw you reading, and so we knew it was important to read. I had my kids reading from a very young age. I'd get books, I'd read to them. And so listening to your kids, communicating with them, I think is critical. Reading and knowing them, letting them know that that's important, and then being present, because as adults and moms, we get very busy sometimes, and sometimes the trials of the day can get us down, and our kids come in and they want to talk to us, and I think we have to be present and listen to them, and so that they know that they are being heard. And then around the table, like we're sitting now, we'd always talk about how your day went and ask questions. And so I feel they told me that that's what made an important difference in their lives.
Beautiful. We'll be right back with my mom and KMEX anchor Gabriela Tessier.
On behalf of the University of Southern California, our civic engagement and university leadership, I want to welcome you officially to the University of Southern California for the 2012 LAUSD Family, College, and Career Summit. So today I know that you will have an informative and engaging summit. It's been planned for you, and I am confident that you will leave here inspired and ready to go back to your respective schools and homes with the resources and knowledge to set higher goals and set your course for college and career paths. Thank you for being here at USC today.
We will not, in LAUSD, rest until every student graduates college workforce ready. So while I thank USC, who so graciously hosts us, and as part of their motto about fighting on, you're darn right that we will fight on in LAUSD to make sure that every single student completes an A through G course curriculum as a minimum so that they can stand at the front gate of this, not just to learn about USC and other colleges, but to enter USC and other colleges.
And just reaching out to so many parents, you can imagine there are over 700,000 students in the Los Angeles Unified School District. So even an event of this magnitude, which has about 5,000 people here today, and other events that are going on at the university as well, takes a lot of planning. So I want to recognize the many, many volunteers who worked with us to put this event on. We have about 200 people who just volunteered their time to help us.
Buenos dias and good morning. I am excited. Now, I'm a little under the weather, but sitting backstage, that presentation got me excited for what we're all here to do. And that's expect more for our future. If all of you leave here today expecting more for your future and demanding more, as Dr. Deasy said, we'll all be successful. The teachers in your schools are heroes helping you. Your parents are supporting you. And certainly companies like Microsoft care deeply about your future, partly because we need you for the company, but also we need you to fuel innovation for the world, grow economies, grow jobs, etc. So I'm proud to be a part of this event, proud to salute the work. I hope I see many of you in a few years applying for jobs at Microsoft to help us move forward with the company and certainly drive innovation, not only for Microsoft, but companies around the world to drive innovation. Connect who you are, be about something, and focus on your strengths. What are you good at? How can I continue to make those strengths so strong that they overcome a lot of the weaknesses that you may have? So keep pushing, keep believing, and keep dreaming, and I'm confident many of you will be leaders for our future and help drive to a better world. Thank you very much for the work that you do, and I look forward to saluting you years to come.
And the whole experience at college was one that I want all of you to experience. I want you all to be able to graduate from high school, but at the same time, I want you to be able to go to college because I believe you can. I encourage you, and I really want you all, eat right, be active, do more, expect more from yourself, and challenge yourself. And thank you again for being here with us all. Thank you.
Welcome back to Families Matter. Joining us now are my mom, Guillermina Corrales Garcia, and KMEX News anchor, Gabriela Tessier. Welcome, ladies. So, Gabi, tell us, you talk to so many women, and in your experience, what can you share with us about this role?
Well, I have two kids. They are young, 9 years and 11 years of age, and I think that the most important thing is supervision and involvement. I find that a lot of parents think that supervision is old-fashioned. Some of them even think that, you know, don't worry, the nature, life will take care of them, or they'll learn more when they're exposed to things in school and out there on the streets. To me, it's not okay. And I have found that parents that are like a little bit on the overshadowing kind of thing, kind of sense, they are much more successful when it comes to grades, when it comes to know what they're doing, where their weaknesses are, what their strengths are. And I think that supervision is important. I also think that involvement is important because when the parents don't go to the school, don't meet with the parents, don't hear from other parents, they are just left out. There's no way that they can help the kids out if they don't know what the problems are. So I suggest supervision and involvement constantly.
And Mom, you are an LAUSD alum from Stevenson Middle School.
Yes.
You raised 4 daughters and a son. What do you have to say about how you learned to help students get to graduation?
Well, since they were young, I started telling them that there was no two ways about it. They were going to college. And I always talk about it, and you guys knew that they were going to go to college. And I try to teach you to love books and to look up to your teachers, because I had very high esteem for teachers since I was in high school and even in Mexico. I really look up to my teachers, and I wanted to do the best because I wanted to be close to them. And I like to know the answers because I wanted to participate in the class. It made me feel good. So when my kids started going to school, I took them to Farmer Jones. Anna started when she was 2.5, Mónica when she was 1.5, because I had seniority. And that was beautiful, you know, because they could do whatever they wanted to do. If they want to play in the driveway with trucks and bikes, you know, I used to stand up and sell them gas, and they would count. How many gallons do you want? So I was trying to teach it numbers. We went playing the sandbox. They would make bridges and streets and everything they wanted to make. In the swings, well, the little ones enjoy it, you know. They knew how to learn to pump their feet. Now, we had the treehouse, and the treehouse was a little bit challenging, you know, because they had to climb the stairs and go down the slide. And it was beautiful. And then inside, we had the music room, the kitchen, and we had the dress up, you know, in the store that you sell eggs and milk and bread and everything.
And you know what, Guillermina, a lot of parents, or a lot of, I mean, some parents think that that is wasted time,
No,
but you
it
made
isn't.
it an educational time.
Oh, yes, they
That's so
really
good.
looked up to it. You know, and this school was made by mothers. We had only one teacher, Mrs. Salzer, June Salzer, you know, and she was wonderful. And she had the music time with the kids. And then half of the time, the mothers would have posts and be working outside. And the other half would go into lecture on how to get together with your kids, how to solve problems and behavior problems, you know. So everybody enjoy Farmer Jones, everybody. and my kids really like, they're very inquisitive about books and about, they had a lot of outgoings. If they wanted to go to the park, or they wanted to go on a trip, or they wanted, you know, they were always allowed to do that.
And Michelle, what do you, when you've been everywhere, you've been you're a mother, you were a teacher, you were a principal, how do you think we can get more parents involved?
You know, and what my mother and I often talk about, it's about building relationships and opening up the doors and making our parents feel welcome. And I think that's very important, so that they can feel it's okay to come to school. We want you to be at the school. We want you in classrooms with your youngsters side by side. So I think we are responsible for creating that environment that says come in. And then also to help parents understand how they can work with their youngsters at home. And what types of things can you do to engage and connect with your students and your children, so that they understand that education is important and how you can help them with their studies and learning. My mom is my best friend, and she was my biggest advocate and supporter. And so even though sometimes she might not be able to understand the new math or the algebra, she was at every production, every open house, every event. I always knew that this is important to my mom and important to our family, and I felt it. And even with her grandkids, my kids today. So I think what we can do for parents is to open it up, encourage them to come in, invite them in, so that they can participate with their kids.
And you know, when you participate in school, I used to go every single day with them.
Yes.
And ask the teachers, do you need anything? Do you want me to make an errand for you? Or do you need, you know, in the office? And it's good because they know that you are around. They know that they're very important to you. And also, you know, to get to know their friends.
Exactly, that is
important.
so important. You need to know who your kids are hanging out with.
One of the things that always comes up, and sometimes working moms have to figure out, it's a balancing act. And the issue of time always comes up. It's like no matter how many children you have, when you're a mom, I think it's the most important job in the world, and certainly the most rewarding. But at the same time is this issue of constant, this time constraint, because we're running all the time, right? And just we almost feel like there's not enough hours in the day. But quality, in my opinion, goes a really long way. And so, you know, I have a balancing act because I have 2 jobs, and I'm raising, you know, my 3-year-old, and I have a husband, and I have to keep a house. So to me, it's not only an issue of the amount of time that I get to spend with Isabel, but it's the quality that you actually, it's the quality that you really invest. It's making those 2 hours stretch and count, whether it be reading or making whatever, if we're cooking, making it into an
going
activity.
to the market.
Right, and
Just
that's
adding
actually,
up and
now she pays
subtracting.
attention to when we go to a supermarket, and so we're counting the amount of apples that we put in, the colors, and so that to me is the most important thing. And so many moms really struggle with the issue of time. How do you deal with that?
Well, you know, I am one of the few lucky ones that have a full-time job, and I'm a full-time mom because I get to pick up my kids from school. But then again, as you say, Nuri, I could just say, hey, I'm very tired. I'm going to go take a nap. Well, I make sure that if I have to take a nap, I do it while they're at school. So then I pick them up, bring them home, and actually do homework with them. And I'm tired beyond belief. But you know what? You sit there, and at least by you sitting there, they know that it is important to you. And it matters. And at that point, they're like, oh, this is important for my mom, or even their little projects. It's important that you're like, okay, now we're gonna go to the yard and we're gonna pick up the grass and the rocks that we need for your project. Little things can go a long way.
And I would carve out time, special time. I have 3 daughters, as I mentioned, so each daughter would get their own special time.
You look wonderful for having 3
Carve
daughters.
out their own special time. So I have, it's mommy and me time, and so I would build my schedule around that. So I'm pretty, you know, specific about how I schedule my time, and so I'd always layer in my time with my kids and my family. Because it was so important to me to make that a priority, that they knew that they were a priority. So I'd find out when their events are, I'd layer them in, and then I try to build around that. And I just think that's so important.
I think dinner time is important because you get to talk about your day. I think bedtime is important, especially if you're trying to build those reading foundations and those reading blocks. And Sundays for us is very important. We try not to work on a Sunday because we really try to build it around family time, and that's when we sort of spend all day with our daughter.
You know, for example, for me, it was very important to go with my parents to their jobs. Like at times I bring my kids with me when I have things to do on the weekends. I make sure that they come and they listen to Monica doing her speech, and they listen to important people doing their speech, and they're like, oh, this is important.
This is what mommy does.
Exactly, that too. So they get a little bit of the real taste of what we really do, and they have a goal, they aim somewhere. They're like, I want to do this when I'm older, you know?
You know, the other thing I really enjoyed is talking to other moms, moms who've already been there. And I think a lot of the times, because of these time constraints that we put on ourselves and we're going so fast, we don't always get to relate or have the time to relate to other moms. So during the day, you know, sharing those stories about how did you overcome the terrible 3s, which is where I'm at. Or how do you do the balancing act, and how do you carve out that time? And a lot of the times our families, especially in our culture, sometimes because we're new to this country, don't speak the language, and so sometimes that becomes so intimidating. I'm so, Yermina just tells a story of how she got involved in your children's school, and we just always leave out the fact that this education system can be so intimidating for parents, and we really need to empower moms, because they're usually the ones that get involved in schools, right? That's usually what happens. How do we create that environment so that parents, we can just tear down this wall that sometimes in our culture we think the school does it better or the teacher knows better, but it's really a partnership, right? It's really a partnership. How do we do that? How do we do that?
Let's talk about how do you recommend that self-esteem or that empowerment of saying, I need to be an advocate for my child. And how do we help women know that we're counting on them, or what they think, what they feel, how they act, all influences a child?
I think my point of view, what I have experienced at the private schools and public schools, I think as a mom, when you go out there and you make a proposal and they listen to you, and then you see a change, maybe not completely towards what you proposed, but that you see that they took into consideration what you proposed, that makes an impact. And that makes you feel like, oh, you're part of it. I remember coming to a school and saying, you know, I really think that this board is a mess. It's so confusing. So they said, why don't you do it? Fix it. Here are your tools. Do it whatever you want, and then we'll come back and we'll see if it works. And sure enough, it did work. Some other moms pitched in, and then we ended up having a wonderful board that was more clear and simple for everybody else to read. Simple things like that, I think, make a difference. The teaching gardens at the schools, those are wonderful. Everybody can participate. You don't need to have great skills to do it, and you make it your own.
So the school community also has to welcome the parents.
Oh, yes.
Right, you have to
welcome. Like in the PTA, you know, when you get together with all the parents there, you have to know them and know what they can do. Like, for instance, us, when we were going in grammar school, we went to St. Alfonso's, and we knew each other. So when the fair came, in our house, the 3 days were gone. We were working. Wherever they needed us, outside, inside in the kitchen, playing bingo, whatever, you know.
Yes.
Helping.
No, yeah, with the bingo, when it started, I used to run the corridors, you know, and I would tell them, come on, I have the lucky number, and they would believe me, and they would buy me. I was the best seller.
You're full of energy.
We have the duplicator 100 times over. I love your energy.
But it's true, Michelle. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
I was going to say, but because as moms, that's what we do, right? We know how to go in, organize, help, assist when we work. So it's really affording our parents, our moms, that opportunity to do what we already do naturally. So visiting in the classroom, helping with the teacher, and doing things, everyday things, so that moms can feel connected and they can be close to their kids, I think is would help to bring them in, and so they can be more connected to their students.
I have felt rejected in a classroom, I have to admit. I felt rejected in a classroom, and I had to push through it, and I said, it doesn't matter if she doesn't like me. She doesn't need to be my best friend, but it's for the good of my child. And I had to just say, okay, it's only for a year, but I'm going to be present. Because at the beginning, it really turned me down. I was like, what am I doing here? She's looking at me like, are you here again today? I'm like, yes, today I'm again here. You know, it's like, good for you. It was hard, but I tell you, I didn't feel that welcome at the beginning. And she never liked me. That teacher precisely never liked me. But, you know, you have to push through it. It's just like, it's hard to just not, you know, not to be there for your child. Because at the end of the day, it's your child who's not going to see you in the classroom. It's not about, you know, it's about building that bond with your child. Absolutely.
So I want to talk a little bit about tough love, just because my mother is my biggest hero. But we also knew who was in charge. Yes. And so a lot of the times I hear from our schools about, you know, children and how do they talk to parents who maybe their child, you know, they're having behavioral issues and so on. And so how have you guys dealt with that? I mean, I always say I'm in charge, and I'm responsible for raising Isabel. It's not the teacher and it is in the school. I have to play a role in that. And so how do you guys deal with that? How do you, 2 hours straight?
Go, Michelle.
I just want to say, it started from, I want to say the cradle. It starts from the cradle because when they start, you know, pushing back and, you know, you see those little signs right when they're little infants and you have a toddler. I remember the toddler years, and no, and they would. So I think we have to start then in establishing, you know, boundaries and letting our kids have clear expectations, and this is right and wrong. Because when they get older, when they get in middle school, they continue that same behavior if we have not established those boundaries. So I was very clear with my daughters. They knew who was in charge in the house also, and established how we were going to operate within our home. And then I'm great with my kids. We're friends, but I'm mom. And so I didn't, sometimes we feel that they don't like me anymore, and so therefore I'm not, I've had parents tell me, I can't go into their room, I can't look in their backpacks.
that is
I've had them say that because you know,
Who pays the mortgage?
Right, they didn't give me permission, and so no. So we have to empower our parents to understand, no, you are the parent,
Yes.
and your children will respect you, and you're establishing good principles for them and establishing how the way you're going to operate in your home, and that carries on to school and into their future life.
You're really talking about expectations, right?
Yes.
Expectations for your child and of yourself in that role. What were you going to say, Bobby?
Well, you know, at times you have, I mean, I have found at times it's hard because you're actually swimming against the whole current. Everybody tells you, let the child be, the child will be fine, what yes, what not, and you really have to, you know, just say, no, I'm the mom. They'll tell you, but you cannot be that tough with him. Guess what? When he's screaming the top of his lungs, I'm gonna send him right to your house. We'll see how you deal with it.
The world is tough. I've also come from the school of Manuel Garcia. Tough love, I remember in 5 years old, knowing that there was an expectation.
Yes.
Ladies, this has been fabulous. I love this conversation about how we empower moms, how do we become more involved in our children's education. Thank you so much for being here. And thank you for joining us on Families Matter. And please visit our family websites, families.lausd.net and parentsaccess.lausd.net. Your involvement makes all the difference. See you next month, and remember, families matter.